Welcome back. As more people return to their regular routines, Nevada's roads are starting to see traffic again. But unfortunately, as we get back to the swing of things, we're also seeing a lot of deadly crashes. Just this weekend, there was a triple fatal on the 95, and investigators believe impairment may have been a factor. So here to discuss the impact of these deadly crashes, we have NHP Trooper Travis Smaka. Travis, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you kind of breaking down what we're seeing lately.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So let's start off with this. These crashes, as we know, are preventable. And I actually just looked at the NHP Southern Nevada Command Twitter handle, and it seems as though every single post, or at least every other post, is about a DUI or a crash. So why is this a trend, and what can we do to stop these deadly crashes from happening?
I wish I had the answers on why this was a trend, but you're absolutely correct. It is a trend, and it's a trend we're trying to curb for sure. One person losing their life is too many, and what we have right now is, I don't have a better term other than horrific. Especially the last fatal crash we investigated in Nye County out near Scotty's Junction. This is a family that's been completely decimated, and like you mentioned earlier, the subject that we found at fault for this crash, we do suspect impairment on when this person hit this family head on and killed 3 of the family members, one of which is a young 12-year-old girl.
Oh my gosh. This is something that obviously changes a family's life in the blink of an eye. So when you run into something like this, what's the first step troopers have to do when they're on scene to make sure family members are okay in this process?
One thing we do offer is on a scene like that where there are survivors who have just been a part of something so emotionally devastating, is we do everything we can to get some therapists out on scene, and we do have a great organization where they volunteer and they'll come out and just be with any witnesses or those involved in a deadly crash and try to help them work through it emotionally, or at least just have somebody there with them while we try to investigate. But it's really a ripple effect. It affects everybody on scene. Every time we lose a life in one of these horrible crashes, it not just affects the family members, it affects coworkers, friends, neighbors, and every first responder on the scene, especially this one. We are talking about a young child who dies violently. That sticks with every one of us who's on that scene. And we're trained to be professional, to do our job, but we're all human beings and we all have families. And when you see a young child, it's hard not to think of your own children out on one of those scenes and how precious life is and just what a horrible tragedy it is. I mean, after doing this profession for several years, I would be remiss if I didn't say, when I close my eyes at night, it's these young faces I see when I close my eyes. It sticks with every one of us. We do everything we can to be professional, but you can't completely distance yourself from being a human being. And these tragedies stick with each and every one of us.
You could just hear it in your voice there as well. We already ran out of time, but I just want to ask you, if there's one thing you can tell viewers right now who are watching, what would it be?
Please just take your time, wear your seatbelt, and just have some common courtesy for those drivers around you. There's nothing that's worth taking someone's life. Slow down, wear your seatbelt, and for heaven's sake, don't drive impaired. There's absolutely no good excuse to do that.
NHP Trooper Travis Smaka, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we'll be right back.